Welcome back to Data Center Battlegrounds. Today we're going to be reacting to this video called "This Catholic Diocese is the Data Center Capital of the World." It's a religious term, so I'm not sure if this video is going to be about the fusion of AI and religion, but I guess we're going to find out.
And at the heart of that is the data center infrastructure needed to power our devices. These massive buildings springing up all over the countryside are the source of great controversy and tension to those who live near them. And beyond that, our reliance on our interconnected digital technology is of concern to our church, as evidenced by Pope Leo XIV's encyclical Magnificat Humanitas. EWTN News In Depth turned to reporter Mark Irons to unpack this complicated issue.
So before she goes into it, the Pope made the news like about a couple weeks ago at this point, maybe a month and a half ago. He released like this, it was 48,000 words or something like that. It was like a long manuscript about like how AI should be used in the world, how it should benefit everybody, peace, all that stuff.
If you're watching this report online or have ever scrolled, searched, shopped, emailed, carried out basically any basic task that requires web access, it's not possible without data centers. And it's even possible your internet traffic could have passed right through here.
The stat is 70% of internet traffic goes through Northern Virginia as of 2025, 2026. Fun fact.
Data center alley, right?
That's right.
Warehouses of your data and mine.
Northern Virginia, not far from Washington, D.C., where you'll find hundreds of the gigantic warehouses packed with computer servers and the infrastructure needed to process and power our ever-growing digital world. Major companies like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft have a presence. There are more data centers concentrated here than any other place in the world. They border the highway, some residential neighborhoods, others not far from churches. Data Center Alley falls within the boundaries of the Catholic Diocese of Arlington, Virginia. This diocese home to 70 Catholic parishes, and in the same area, more than 3 times the number of data centers.
In the Catholic Church context, there are more data centers in the Diocese of Arlington than any other place in the world. Has the local church been paying attention to that? Has it been thinking about that?
Well, yeah, of course. It's absolutely in people's minds to be thinking about how to shepherd and pastor the flock.
Anna Kinnear is the coordinator for the Peace and Justice Commission in the diocese. Our conversation was timely, coming on the heels of Pope Leo's encyclical Magnificat Humanitas, which addresses the need to protect human dignity as the use of artificial intelligence rapidly expands.
It's coming fast and quickly, and it's a kind of a, we're building the plane as we fly a little bit in terms of all sorts of considerations, including infrastructure.
Part of the infrastructure of artificial intelligence means more data centers. And with AI relying on an excess supply of data and computing power, the development of these digital storehouses is accelerating. Some see it as a good thing, with the jobs these facilities can bring and the abundance of tax revenue they can generate for the benefit of the communities where they're built, which can include tax relief for local citizens. In his encyclical, Pope Leo repeated the words of one of his predecessors, a saint, Pope Paul VI, who said, "The most extraordinary scientific progress, the most astounding technical feats, and the most amazing economic growth, unless accompanied by authentic moral and social progress, will in the long run go against man." And for some who live near Data Center Alley in Loudoun County, the progress next door is causing them problems.
It makes noise 24/7. The noise itself affects people's health.
We heard the different concerns in the neighborhood next to the Vantage Data Center.
Whatever they're doing, it's causing us a respiratory issue. That's my main concern.
The part that really gets me is the noise penetration into my home.
To escape the noise and see what life was like outside Data Center Alley, we headed for the country. 2 hours south, the town of Louisa, Virginia offers small-town charm. And on Main Street, Floozy's provides a tasty slice of pie.
Looks delicious.
But stick around after dessert, and local patrons might even give you a piece of their mind.
I realize that technology has to grow and everything, but
they're just an eyesore.
The noise, the pollution, all those kinds of things.
Everyone we spoke to had something to say, mostly negative about data centers. 2 of them are under development here in Louisa County.
I come from Northern Virginia. We moved down here 5 years ago. It's like following us.
It's taken advantage of rural communities like this.
A Gallup poll from this year showed 7 in 10 Americans oppose constructing data centers for artificial intelligence in their local area.
Virginia is the dumping ground of data centers.
But criticism is spreading across the U.S. Another Pew Research Center survey found as Americans learn a lot more about data centers, they are expressing concerns about home energy costs and the environmental impact. Data centers need massive amounts of energy to stay powered and water for cooling to keep the servers from overheating.
It's sucking up electricity. It's sucking up the water resources.
Just the amount of natural resources in general being drained.
In his encyclical, Pope Leo noted it is essential to develop more sustainable technological solutions that reduce environmental impact and help protect our common home. For this rural community, the issue hits close to home, in particular the home of Austin Newsom, who lives with his family in the once quiet countryside of Louisa. Now dump trucks are constantly on the move across from his front yard, where an enormous Amazon data center is under construction.
If you could speak to Amazon officials directly, what would you say to them?
They wouldn't want to live here. They wouldn't live here. If this was their house.
That's, I laugh at this because like that's the irony about all of this is that like the political elite, your city council members, all of that stuff, they're not living next to like data centers. They're like living in, I don't know, gated communities, like somewhere else, the richest zip codes, all that stuff. So I laugh just because it's true.
They wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't be okay with it.
This data center is far from completion, but Austin says the quality of life here has already declined from the noise and dust that comes over from the construction site.
Some days you're out there and it's hard to breathe. The kids don't like it. The kids really hate it because they can't jump on the trampoline without getting covered in dust. They go jump.
And this is not even air pollution from like natural gas turbines or anything like that. This is dust from construction sites. Like that's insane when you look at the sheer scale of the build out and then the resulting like dust that can travel if it's a windy day and it's blowing into like your front yard and the kids are playing on the trampoline. Yeah. No, I mean, he's literally like 5 feet away from the construction site. That's wild.
On the trampoline and just clouds of dust coming off the trampoline.
Austin runs a boat repair shop on his property. With a lake nearby, summer business is typically booming. But with all the construction dust flying over, coating high-end boats in dirt, customers are staying away.
How much drop-off in business have you seen?
A lot.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, with in-shop work and bigger jobs, I usually would have 15, 20, 25 boats in my parking.
He'll have to adapt his business. Lake is not going to have like any visitors if like there's a bunch of dust like or flying overhead from like the nearby data center. He'll have to adapt it like boat modification, paint job. He'll have to like adapt the business because he's not going to have any visitors on that lake. That's unfortunate, but that's a consequence of the data center like project being like right next to like the lake and his property as well. I wonder if there's like any stipulation in like the community benefit agreement that they have to sign where it's like if your business is getting negatively impacted through some indirect or direct air pollution or business impact, that type of thing. I wonder if they have to pay him some cut or subsidy. So I don't think so.
Not at any given time, and right now we've got 2.
Did you have any say in this coming up right across the street from your house?
I didn't. I got one little itty-bitty piece of paper about a town meeting, about an Amazon data center.
Congrats.
And of course, they schedule these meetings at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the average person's at work. Not everybody can just leave work.
Yeah.
Those public meetings were hosted by the Louisa County Board of Supervisors. The board would vote to ultimately approve construction. In a document released to the public explaining its position, the county notes the benefit of potential tax revenue coming in from the Amazon data centers, writing, annual new county revenues could exceed $25 million annually, which could be used for tax relief, core public services such as schools and public safety, infrastructure enhancements, and other priorities.
The real concerns that nobody knows of the real impacts of how is this going to affect the town's drinking water.
An Amazon spokesperson told us when it comes to data centers, Amazon is committed to environmental responsibility and complies with all environmental regulations, including those related to water quality, air emissions, stormwater management, noise levels, and waste disposal. And they said Amazon works with utility operators to plan and invest in power grid development and improvements. A sign back in the pie shop window protests no more data
I saw
centers.
that.
And
Yeah.
next door, another sign rejects a proposed high voltage transmission line.
Okay, so quick note on the transmission stuff because this was very interesting. So, setting aside data center infrastructure in the US, when it comes to energy policy, we've got, to simplify it to an extreme absurd degree, we talk about generation, transmission, and storage. Those are like the three holy pillars of energy policy. So, transmission infrastructure is very interesting because everyone talks about generating power, everyone talks about battery storage, right? A lot of people don't really talk about transmission lines, which has been kind of like this age-old fight. It's like kind of like when highways used to be built, right? Back in like the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of debate over like where it should go through communities. And it actually was like a leading factor, I think, in a lot of like segregation cases where like highways would bisect a community and you'd have like the rich folks on one side and the poorer folks on another. That's pretty interesting. So with transmission lines, it's very interesting because before data centers, transmission lines were actually a major stopping point for a lot of communities because folks don't want things like this, or power lines running overhead, lots of construction work on transmission lines, all these different things. It's just so funny that it went from, you know, in the public discourse, like highways, and then those were built, transmission lines, and then those were built, and now it's data centers. But unfortunately, you can't have data centers without transmission because you need to be able to, generate the power, ship the power, and then store the power ultimately. So in addition to building out massive swaths of data centers, we're going to have to like 3x, 5x, 10x transmission infrastructure in the US. That's part of the reasons why your energy bills would go up in a certain area. The costs ultimately will get passed on to the consumer in some way, whether it's like a transmission line going up or I don't know, more baseload power coming online. That's why you see probably folks' energy bills going up. There's like reports that I was reading recently about like, oh, data centers are not the cause for power bills going up. It's actually a combination of transmission line infrastructure projects and more, natural gas, whatever, more power generation capacity. It's a combination of little different things. It's not just the data center, which is interesting.
One of those routes does come right through the middle of my property.
Data centers need power, and lots of it. Austin says one proposed path for a transmission line would cut right through the patch of grass between his house and boat shop.
See, this is what I'm talking about. The transmission line bisecting his property. So before data centers, it was transmission lines. Before transmission lines, it was highways. You're always going to have some degree of NIMBYism against infrastructure development.
Could you live with that there?
Absolutely not. You're talking massive power lines, 200 feet tall in the air.
Exactly.
200-foot, easement. I wouldn't have any yard left.
Yeah.
The easement's going to be pretty close to my house.
I get
If
it.
they built that line through there, what happens to your shop?
They tear it down.
Oh,
They tear it down.
Tear it down.
You're out of business.
Out of business.
Pope Leo writes, the devastating impact of unemployment and job insecurity on family structures is well known. Critics say though data centers bring in temporary jobs, once built, they operate with a limited staff. More broadly, there are concerns that entire sectors of human labor could be replaced by artificial intelligence. Whatever the future holds, the Pope reminds us we must avoid the misconception of equating this type of intelligence with that of human beings.
There was a quote from Dario Amodei about every data center having a country full of geniuses, like working 24/7, 365 days a year in a data center. So it's interesting about this quote with like equating this type of intelligence with that of human beings. It's the whole concept between artificial general intelligence being so superhumanly powerful, it could theoretically do anything a human can do, but maybe like 3 times better. And then like the baby brother version of that is ASI, artificial. I forget what that stands for, but it's like it's the thing below that, artificial general intelligence, and then you have ASI like right below.
Well, as a Protestant, yes, I support the Pope wholeheartedly in what he is saying.
Deshandra Jefferson is chair-at-large on the Board of County Supervisors in Prince William County, a few counties north of Louisa where data center growth has already exploded. Unlike some of her other board members, Jefferson is more cautious about data center expansion, but she does note some of the positives.
What benefits has this county seen from the data centers that are already here?
we have been able to lower our taxes. Our personal property tax, or AKA the car tax. We have a
Okay.
meals tax that was 4%. It's now down to 3%. And we've been able to reduce our real estate tax rate while giving the schools record amounts of funding every year.
The votes made by her and her fellow county board members
Okay.
have the power to approve or deny requests from developers.
Now, I have voted for more data centers than I have voted against,
Interesting.
but I have a hard line. There are certain places data centers don't belong, and that's near houses, that's near schools, that's near sensitive cultural and historic resources. And there has been pushback on that. I'm simply looking for common sense limits.
What's in place to prevent this from getting out of control?
Where developers are coming in and say, hey, I know that maybe you want a park here, but we'd like to do data centers. Well, I know that maybe you want more housing here, but we'd like to do data centers. So there isn't a strong enough plan. And I'm one of 8 on the board.
Okay,
We
so it's
have
an even
people
vote.
all over the place on this issue.
Prince William County also sits in the Diocese of Arlington.
So Prince William County, I was going to do like one of my projects like on this for school. Actually, there was a massive, massive data center project, I believe called the Prince William Digital Gateway Corridor. And setting aside the environmental impacts of such like a massive like swath of data centers being built across literally just an untold amount of land, it was actually close to some national battlefield sites like um, I'm not sure if it was the Battle of Gettysburg or something to that nature, but anyway, it was next to like some nationally recognized battleground sites from like the Civil War and like the historic past. And apparently they would have been building the data center infrastructure project next to those areas. And so like that raised like another like side of the argument where it's like, okay, so in addition to the environmental and social impacts, yada, 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 now you're affecting the American cultural heritage of the past, which is another argument. So I find that very interesting.
Anna says at a minimum, data centers are controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And while some might point out the benefits, the church does not forget those who might be suffering.
We need to be with those who are on the margins. And the margins aren't that far away. I could drive there this afternoon.
Margins are right there.
She also pointed out something else, how our digital decisions, though they may seem minor at times, really do mean something.
My phone suddenly tells me I'm out of storage, and I don't know what to do. And so I'll pay the $2.99 to rent a storage unit for my data in Loudoun County, but I'm not thinking about it that way.
You don't think about that.
No,
it just goes to the cloud.
I'm literally sort of baffled. There's no cloud.
Where is the cloud?
It's a physical storage unit.
These data centers, many of them are popping up as a result of the expansion of AI. A lot of us are using it right here on our phones. Do you find yourself using AI? How culpable are we in all of this?
I do use AI, a little bit. It is kind of contradicted. I'm complaining about it, but I also use it. It is a nice.
Oh my God! So there's a data center being built 5 feet across his property line, and he's using AI, and he's complaining about it. I mean, heck, yeah. I talk about the environmental impacts of data center projects. I use AI, but I live in DC proper. I don't live next to a data center. I know. It's hypocrisy, but we all are. In the eyes of the Lord, we all are hypocrites,
Tool to have, but not something you want, in your backyard.
Yeah.
Technology is part of our daily lives and will undoubtedly develop. Pope Leo reminds us our use of it must serve the good of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
He calls us to build up a society where human dignity is always respected, to keep God at the center of our lives. Human creativity and innovation can help construct a more loving civilization if we're united to Christ, the cornerstone. He says, we are called to reflect on the great construction sites of our era and ask, what are we building?
Yeah.
Mark Irons, EWTN News in Depth.
Yeah, this was fun. I mean, the thing about religion and AI is that there's a certain sect of society that are quickly regarding AI models in like a religious fervor, which I find a little concerning. Like, I remember a year or two ago, there was like an entire trend on TikTok that I remember quite vividly where there were all these people. I'm not sure if it was like some marketing tactic or if it was like some ploy or whatever, but all these people were like convinced that God, if you want to call it that, was living in these AI models and was trapped. And the way that it was being expressed was like, thoughts about like, oh, like literally, what was it? Living in the Machine, something in the Machine, like the film series, Trapped in the Machine or whatever it was. But basically, God lived in these AI models, and we should worship these AI models because it is the next, it's the next thing pretty much. Or the religious Messiah was like in these AI models and was like desperately trying to get out. That was like the whole trend. So I think we're already starting to see a certain part of the population worship AI in some religious nature. It's incredibly concerning because I don't know. AI models are not Jesus or God or anything of that sort. There's a I think it's one of the godfathers of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, who says that like AI is a different type of consciousness compared to human beings, and it is a form of intelligence that should be respected. Therefore, the development should be like we should develop an AI that cares for humanity and not for our mistakes, which kind of lines up with like the Pope's religious reasoning of having a society that, AI models should like be used for good, not for bad. But the irony, we live in a world where AI is being literally used for warfare. Project Maven is a great example of that. Or, Grok being used to bomb schools in Iran, allegedly. But AI models are being used for warfare. That you cannot deny that. So anyway, this was a fun video. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on another episode of the Data Center Battlegrounds YouTube channel. Bye.